Everybody get up, no need to cram now. We got a real jam going down, going down, going down, going down, going down, going down. Welcome to the IntelliJAMS.
Happy Monday.
We definitely planned this situation.
Yeah. This is, I don't know what the weather in Toronto is like right now, but this is exactly Denver weather. This is why I wore it.
It's definitely rugby weather here right now. So it was like super hot yesterday and then just dropped off, and we're super chilly today. But Adam, your turn. What do you want to jam on this week?
I was thinking we could jam on post-purchase. I'm very, very excited. We're releasing a feature and I'm very hyped on it. So I was thinking we could potentially jam on this concept of post-purchase upsells.
Okay, let's jam post-purchase. So I'd actually love to get your thoughts on this, because famously on this podcast a few times you've said, be close to the money, test close to the money, try to figure out like what's happening there. And in previous conversations, that close to the money was the checkout or the conversion
Shipping
point.
rates.
So yeah, exactly. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on like, if we're going post-purchase now, is that going against your kind of like test close to the money, or do you feel that it's an extension of it? Like, what's going on in your mind there on the post-purchase side?
Well, first of all, I definitely think that it's close to the money. Someone has literally just authorized their credit card for you to swipe it, and you're like giving them sort of an opportunity to swipe it for more. So I think that it's the money moment. And I think that's what's salacious about post-purchase. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity. So yeah, I'm excited to jam on it because I think it is the money moment.
And how have you been seeing, so as you said, hey, we're releasing something on the post-purchase side here, the ability to do things post-purchase, test inside of that. What have you been seeing brands do as you've been talking about this, collecting feedback on it? Like, what are they eager to do? What's been working on the post-purchase side?
Yeah. Maybe I'll start with my first post-purchase aha moment, which is I was talking to a brand. They sell CBD edibles, and they told me that I asked them open-ended, what was the biggest lever in their business? And he said post-purchase upsells. So that was my aha. And I said, why? And he said, well, it's throwing a second, basically the way this CBD gummies brand introduced post-purchase upsells was if you bought one and only one of their packs, they gave you a second pack 50% off post-purchase. And so here's the economics, the way he framed it. I'm trying to remember now. Okay. So the economics, the way he framed it. Of all the people that buy one pack and get to checkout and purchase, they then give this 50% off offer on the second pack, which doesn't have incremental cost to ship. It's the exact same shipping and fulfillment cost, whether they're sending one pack or two. He has, let's say, 80% margin. So 50% off is still a very positive margin. And obviously the customer's already been acquired. So there's no incremental CAC here. Mm-hmm. And so by adding second 50% off, 40% of people take him up on that offer, which means that he has now grown AOV 20% overnight with no cost in conversion. So the math here is conversion stays exactly the same. AOV goes up 20%, all at positive margin. So that's like the math for him.
Yeah. And a big one you hit there is the no incremental CAC. Like if I get you, Adam, to come in and purchase a second pack here, I don't have to pay to acquire you again. But even like as a returning customer, there is a cost to get you to return. Like I got to do email marketing. I got to do re-engagement. I got to do my retention campaigns to get you to come back and potentially buy that second pack. I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road. I might as well get you to grab it now. Also potentially like maybe some better LTV on that by introducing like a second flavor, or like you're more likely to find what you're looking for by getting more into that first purchase.
Yeah. So the first thing that had never occurred to me until he explained it was that there's literally zero potential for downward pressure on conversion because it is post-purchase. So you're not introducing any potential friction. You're not introducing any potential cost or downside with a post-purchase upsell because it is literally after the conversion already happens. Therefore,
Already
there can't be
happened.
downward, already happened. So there's no possible for conversion cost. It is just gravy. So that was interesting and a realization for me that may be obvious to most people, but not necessarily to everyone. The second realization was around consumption. So this is obviously a consumable good. My then pushback would be, well, aren't you now potentially delaying the amount of time until their repurchase rate? And he was like, we actually studied that. So you might think that by giving someone 2 packs, they now have a longer window until they repurchase. And so you, by discounting, have essentially pushed off the next purchase. And what he said that he found was when people buy more, they just tend to consume faster. And so their consumption is proportional to their supply. And so therefore they actually just like eat more of these CBD gummies and then buy more and actually have a higher LTV, higher consumption rate because they like started off with 2 packs instead of 1. And so that was also an interesting analysis that they did. And I thought was like pretty cool.
It's interesting. I'll take it away from like my experience out of like the CBD world, but like just this concept of like, hey, I'm running low on something. I'm going to like, I don't know, taper my consumption because I don't want to run out. Yeah, ration. I'm going to ration so that I can avoid running out until I remember to actually buy more. And like a lot of times it's actually when it completely runs out and then I forget and maybe never come back to get it. So I like what he's saying there because I wouldn't look at it as I'm delaying the next purchase. It's like, hey, again, your argument of like be close to the money is like, let's boost AOV, let's get as much here as we can, and then worry about the retention stuff.
And by the way, as a user of these gummies, I would say that I actually also have found myself in a scarcity abundance mindset. So when I'm running low, I don't give them to my friends. I don't offer them up when people come over. And when I have a bunch, I'm like, oh, like, do you guys want to try my awesome gummies? And I like, pull out the bag and people see the branding and get to try it and they like it. And it's potentially just sort of like, I don't know. I think that there is a scarcity and abundance mindset. It's like if you can get people to buy more, they will actually consume more, share it with other people. There's actually some interesting second order effects that happen when you can get that second bag in people's pocket.
Lots of good in here. Don't have to like, there's no additional CAC from getting someone in here. We have potential knock-on effects. What about like, so no downward pressure on conversion. What have you seen people want to experiment with here? So like in that example that you gave, we had buy one, get a second one at a discount. Has that been working? What else have we seen people try? I've seen the kind of like, hey, add a complementary product or like a supplementary product at checkout. What have you seen kind of work / people wanting to test?
I think both of those things. Maybe there's probably 3 strategies here. Number one is give the people what they want. So his was give them the exact same product because we know they want it. They already bought it. Now they're also getting it at a deal. And that deal has a like it by nature has a time window expiration and they need to buy it. So give the people what they want is number one. Number two, this complimentary, hey, especially for things that are less consumable, it's here's a pair of socks with your pair of shoes. Here's the tie with the button down. So the complement. And then the third is just around the different types of discounts and offers that you might associate with it. And I think that there's definitely a lot of leverage to be gained around how deep are you willing to go? Obviously, a 50% discount is probably steeper than most people would have intuited as where they start. And so I think being able to test different discounts, once you know it's really important to understand your margin profile, really important to understand is the fact that he knew this doesn't cost me incremental shipping or fulfillment to add a second bag is a really important thing to understand. Obviously, if you're shipping liquid, that might not necessarily be the case for you.
Cases of water. Yeah.
So make sure you understand your cost profile. But I think that recognizing that we're looking for incremental margin and potentially going really deep on a discount, it's worth testing.
Yeah. So basically like, hey, what's the strategy going to be? And then what's the amount going to be? So like, hey, am I giving them more of what they want? Am I going to try to get them into something new? And I think like understanding your cost structure, your margin profile, but also to like in that example, hey, great margins. There's also a lot of companies or a lot of brands out there that have kind of like a hero product, like an acquisition product where like the margins are pretty slim. So it's like, hey, I actually don't want to be giving another one of those. And it might not even necessarily be a complementary product, but just like, hey, can I get something with a better margin profile for me into that cart? Hey, I've already converted them. I spent the money. They're here on the hero product. Can I actually start moving some of these like better margin for me items in there where I have more wiggle room on like testing on what that discount's going to be? Because I have great margins on this, I can test within like 30%, and that gives me a lot of room to play.
Yeah. The other thing that I forgot to mention, another strategy I've seen work well is around clearance and sort of inventory sell through. So some people will use this as an opportunity to push inventory that they need to get off of their shelves, whether it's expiring or out of season or just an old style, and they're consolidating SKU count. So oftentimes this will be like a mystery colorway or like a specific variation that they want, a variant that they want to get off of their shelves. So I think that thinking this also as about an inventory management and sell-through strategy is also a very, very positive one.
So there's a little bit on the strategy, maybe like shameless plug here on like some of the features, functionality that's coming in IntelliGEMS. Previous to IntelliGEMS, I was working with a company who was focused on CPG brands, and this was obviously like a very popular tactic for them. And one of the things we saw is people tended to kind of like pick something and stick with it because it was tough to manage. It was tough to change. It was tough to kind of like understand how well it was actually doing. What are we doing on the IntelliGEMS front from like managing this, measuring it, understanding it to make it easy to experiment and try all these different strategies we were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's a tremendous dimensionality for configuration. There's what products to offer. What are the rules by which I offer those products? What are the discounts and the pricing mechanisms? There's up to 3 different conditions or sort of like offers that you can give someone. So if they reject the first upsell, you can give them a second and a third upsell. So there's a lot of dimensionality here. We are measuring incrementality. We're measuring value, profit, and revenue. And I think the other thing is that we always want to be testing. And I think obviously IntelliGEMS at our core is all about testing. So start with something, establish a baseline, but then run an A/B test because we want to understand where we can find additional dollars.
I love it. And something you've been saying a lot here internally is let's expand the surface area that we can test within, kind of like go through the entire funnel. And this is like a logical next step where it's kind of like actually even further than the funnel. We've gone kind of beyond the conversion point and into some new territory here.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, like one thing I've been thinking about is how to run more tests in parallel and how to be able to manage your traffic. This won't have interaction effects with other things because again, it's already after the conversion and everything else that's higher in the funnel, which you're worried about. Hey, how's this going to affect AOV and conversion and all these kinds of things? This literally cannot affect conversion. It's not going to affect what people buy, how people experience the site. This can be run completely in parallel and just, hey, what happens? It's a totally like separate part of the funnel.
Love that.